So, Susie, one of the things that we talked a lot about this week was how loud it was going to be there and how crazy the fans were going to be. Absolute pandemonium. I could only imagine you were there on the sideline when this thing ended. Just give us a little taste of the flavor, the atmosphere of what was going on there.
Well, the Vikings for a long, long time, even before they got U.S. Bank Stadium last season with the Metrodome, had always been known as one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL. A lot of that manufactured, not authentic noise, but sound, speakers, and the fan. We got great fans, but it was a smaller stadium. This is the first time that U.S. Bank was louder with just fans cheering without any assistance than the Metrodome. Like it was, and you could see at the beginning of the game, even the Saints who played in the old Superdome, now the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, it took them some time to get used to the noise. And that's why they helped the Vikings get off to that fast start. It energized the players. But at the end, the Vikings fans, they stayed true to form, and it really helped the team. They didn't give up. There was not a fan that left their seat, even though there was less than 30 seconds to go. Drew Brees drives the Saints down. They kick it. I mean, of course, that's the way the game's going to end. But as Stephon Diggs said, he's been taught to play until zero, and the Vikings needed every second of it. There's a huge storylines. I mean, you talk about Case Keenum, besides his mother and Jenna Wolfe on believing in him.
And maybe 100-year-old Millie at the game who was on the broadcast. Yep. I don't know how many people believed Case could do that.
Yeah, I don't know how Millie survived getting to the game in that weather. I think it was like a high of 5.
I heard it was just
-7 below, but it sets the stage not only for great championship weeks we have in the AFC and the NFC, but it also sets the stage that 3 weeks from yesterday, someone is going to get crowned Super Bowl champ.
Listen, we're going to spend a ton of today talking about the Vikings. I just want to I want to talk about the Saints on that final play for a moment. I feel so sick for Marcus Williams. I feel like I know what was happening. He sees the ball. If people don't know, like because the Vikings have no timeouts there, all you have to do is tackle them in bounds and the game is over. The Vikings are running everything to the sidelines, hoping to either set up, if they go shorter than that, a better shot Hail Mary. If they complete that and get to the sidelines, you've got a very makeable field goal. And it looked like it was setting up for the Vikings to potentially have their heart broken on a field goal at home again. Like that's when they were driving the ball down the field, that it was maybe going to be a 50-some yarder by Kai Forbath, who had just made a great kick a few minutes earlier. And I feel like Marcus Williams, who had the interception in this game, who had a great rookie season.
Yes.
Just panicked. I think he was worried about a pass interference call.
He definitely was.
Because of pass interference, they stop the clock, and then they can just kick the field goal right there.
Right. This is the biggest problem. When they play two deep safeties in a Hail Mary situation, the safety is a lot wider than he would normally be. Typically, he would be inside the numbers running at an angle to the wide receiver. But because it's a Hail Mary or because they don't have timeouts, he's already wide. So it puts him in bad position on Diggs. But he should be going up and just try to knock the ball down.
Of course.
Now, when he made up his mind that he was going to try to hit him, he realized that he was there a little too early. And then he tried to pull off, because in that situation, you have to realize the defensive coaches are saying there's two things we don't want to happen, all right? Number one is pass interference, and number two is don't rough the quarterback to give him another play. So him being out of position, because in that situation, the safeties are a lot wider. He arrived at the play early, so he didn't want to pass interfere, and in doing that, he wiped out the other defender. I mean, it's like you can't make this kind of stuff up.
I get it. It's pro football. I know he's paid. I know he's at the top of his profession. He's supposed to make any play but the one he made. But, man, I just feel sick for him. Like, he had played so well this year and very well in this game, and in the one moment that, by the way, he will have to have an amazing career that includes winning a championship for this not to be the first paragraph of his football obituary, and that's brutal for him. And he was just trying to avoid the bad play, and instead he made the worst play possible. And Diggs, as you can see, Zimmer said after the game, he wanted Diggs in the moment to go out of bounds. I thought Diggs needed to go out of bounds because I just assumed there was another guy coming.
Right,
man, that's all we were yelling was go out of bounds. But then I was like, We need a touchdown to cover.
Oh, yeah.
But unfortunately, even though, yes, he will be sick to his stomach, and yes, this is what he will be remembered for unless he changes the course of his own history. I mean, this team should not have been down that. This Saints team should not have been down that many and had to play catch up, and they did. And you can point to a number of different ways and times where they could have gotten back into this game, but the Vikings just came out strong and fast. They upped the tempo. They did exactly what we said. They didn't give Case Keenum a chance to ease into his first playoff game. They said, get out there, throw the ball, and he was successful, and they were able to pile up points early.
Right. I think it might be known, too, because I had to think in real time. What if that play doesn't happen? Man, we're talking about Drew Brees, because to me, New Orleans was the most difficult offense and team to figure out here at the rest of the teams that were left. When I was looking at the Vikings, who's their worst matchup? That was with Drew Brees and the double running backs and their ability to be able to throw the ball down the field. But, man, we would have been talking about Michael Thomas and Drew Brees. Man, Drew Brees, and can he be the team that does this? Like, we would have been like, yeah, absolutely. Drew Brees might be the best throwing quarterback left in the tournament. Michael Thomas in the second half against Xavier Rhodes. I mean, he was beastly.
Against a first-team All-Pro.
I mean,
he won that battle repeatedly.
You're talking about the very seldom you're able to see good on good, number one on number one. And there's nothing Xavier Rhodes could do about it. But their ability and Sean Payton's play calling. Oh, my goodness.
How about a wide receiver pass on the biggest play of your season?
3rd and 1.
Biggest play of your season, 3rd and 1 in the playoffs. What are you feeling like in the stadium watching it develop? Because it was open. Like, it was a good play call. It's open. I don't know if it scores,
I felt the Vikings had gotten away with one. You know, because you're talking about huge momentum. They were having a hard time moving the ball on the Vikings all day. But in the 3rd and 4th quarter, Sean Payton, he changed the tempo, and the Vikings were having a hard time like the Saints were in the first half. But this was one of those, moments right there, but tremendous call by Sean Payton. Man, it's a great football game, great chess match going back and forth.
Listen, you mention Michael Thomas. As an aside, Michael Thomas broke most of Odell's records for most production through first 2 years. We just don't know his name because doesn't talk, he's not flamboyant. He's just gone out there for 2 straight years in New Orleans, first 2 years in the league, out of
the Ohio State.
There you go. And been highly productive. He won a matchup with arguably the best corner in the league in the second half of that football game. You mentioned Drew Brees. Drew Brees had the worst first quarter of his life. 1 of 6, a pick, and a 0 quarterback rating.
0.
A 0 for the first quarter. Show the half-by-half breakdown of what Drew Brees was. First half, terrible. Second half, perfect. That is a nearly perfect half of football against maybe the best defense in football. At worst, the second best defense in football. So you're absolutely right. Those all would be storylines. But the Vikings, it was like, to me, watching it from afar, and this is why I was so happy for you, bro. The Vikings have had such, from before I was born, bad luck. Like people say luck doesn't, man, luck, maybe it all evens out in the end, but when you only have so many years of football and so many games in a season, it takes a long time for things to even out. And I thought when Forbath went out there for the kick, the first, what could have been the game-winning kick, I was thinking to myself, man, we said Friday, one of these games is going to be decided by a kicker. None of these games have been decided by a kicker yet. Please don't let him miss it. And he makes it. And then for the Saints to come back down and take the lead back, it's like this is how this is going to happen again. And instead, the Vikings become the first team in NFL playoff history to win on a walk-off regulation touchdown. And in one of the greatest finishes to a sporting event I've ever seen, bro.
All right, we're going to talk about this a lot more over the course of the next 3 hours. We want to hear more about what you saw at the game. Next up for the Vikings is the Philadelphia Eagles. CC's heading outside to do the rest of the show there. But at least his kepi will be warm, if you know what I'm talking about. It's good stuff, CC. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.